I'm happy you asked this question actually because how to manage your success is also very important as how you manage your failures. And more people are getting degrounded, I can say, from success rather than by failure in modern times.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Luminary Lounge, a podcast which will look at insights from lives well lived. This podcast shines a light on the small habits and key decisions that fuel extraordinary lives. In each episode, we take you behind the scenes of accomplished doctors, artists, entrepreneurs, and spiritual leaders, uncovering the powerful insights and strategies they have mastered. Whether you're looking for practical advice or a dose of inspiration, we have got you covered. Together, we'll unlock the secrets of high performers, giving you the tools to elevate your own journey. So get ready to tune in because here at Luminary Lounge, every conversation is your next step towards becoming the best version of yourself. Today, we have the rare privilege of speaking with one of the most decorated and influential figures in orthopedic surgery. Dr. Professor Rajasekaran is here with us, and he heads the orthopedic, trauma, and spine surgery department at Ganga Hospitals in Coimbatore, which is South Asia's largest orthopedic specialty hospital, and his leadership drives over 20,000 major surgeries a year. Professor Rajasekaran did his MS Orthopedics from Madras Medical College in 1987, FRCS Royal College of Surgeons, Edinburgh in 1989. He also did FRCS Honours, MCH, University of Liverpool in 1990, and a PhD from the Tamil Nadu MGR Medical University in 2000. A global authority with countless prestigious titles and awards, he has not only shaped cutting-edge research, but also has steered international spine surgery societies. And I forgot to mention, all the degrees were gold medals, by the way. To name a few of the titles and the positions that he has held, he was the president of the Asia Pacific Spine Society from 21 to 22, chair of the AO Spine International. AO stands for a very prestigious organization in the orthopedic circles. He was the chair of the AO Spine International Board. He was the chair of the AO Spine International Research Commission, a president of SICOT, which again is a highly reputable international organization for orthopedics and trauma, president of CSRSAP, president of the Indian Orthopedic Association, president of the Association of Spine Surgeons of India for 4 years, president of the International Society for Study of Lumbar Spine, Canada, and also he has been honored as an Ontarian professor for the year 2011 and 12 by the Royal College of Surgeons, England, and also has been a distinguished visitor to the Harvard Medical International in Boston. Regarding his research, he has been awarded Outstanding Research Award consecutively for 4 years, 2019 to 2022, by the North American Spine Society. And it gives me goosebumps to kind of read this, but he has 444 publications in international journals, 100 national publications, 85 chapter publications, and a staggering 597 international presentations and 601 national presentations. So this conversation promises to offer deep insights from a man whose impact on orthopedics not only spans continents, but I'm sure spans decades. So let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Professor Rajasekaran.
Thank you. So I was particularly excited when you told the word or the phrase lives well lived. So I'm really honored, and I think it's a privilege to be one of your first speakers to be included in this program. You also mentioned the word secrets. I think there are no secrets for living a good life, but we all know it, but how much we adopt the things that we know. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, without wasting much time, I think we'll dive into the conversation. So, let's go back a few decades to your early years, your upbringing. Everybody has a childhood that shapes them up later in life. So, to be where you are today, can you just throw a little bit light about how your upbringing was like and how that helped shape you to who you are today?
Yeah. So I think your childhood actually forms the foundation for what you're going to be later. So if you know what's your childhood, you can actually predict what's going to be your future later in life. And the persons who really influence you during your childhood are none other than your parents. And that's why you find any person who has done very well in their life. And if you ask them, they always will mention at least to a small or a great part usually on the role that their parents have played in life. And I think my brother and I, we always say that we have been very lucky to be a part of a ovarian lottery. I mean, we were just so lucky to be born to our parents. I'm sure that every parent means well for their children, but some parents are much better in actually shaping the lives and making sure that they give what takes to be successful later in life to their children. So one of the foremost things that I am very proud and grateful to our parents are that they, not for the luxury they gave us, I mean, there was nothing like luxury in our childhood, but for the clear principles and instructions and the strictness with which they brought us up. If there was money in the house, we never saw it, and that actually made us feel that money is something that is to be used for achieving good things and not to be squandered away. Actually, they made us a part of all the important decisions in life in our family right from our young age. And that actually prepared us very well for life. So really remember very well. I probably was in my eighth or ninth standard when we started the first hospital project. And my mother told me actually, okay, you are learning about mathematics and interest and bank loans in your mathematics. Now come, let me show you what is this. And she exactly told us the project of our hospital, how much we are investing and how much the bank is giving a loan and what should be our interest. And she asked me, okay, now compute how much we have to pay if it is a simple interest or a compound interest, and you choose what we should pay. And that was not it. So after I just told her back the answer, she said, okay, now that you know how much we have to pay the bank, you tell us how all we can save money and what all we are doing now so that we'll be able to pay. This was when I was in eighth or ninth standard. And they really put us into every problem that we had in the hospital or family. They never shielded us from problems. And that was something that really made us know that problems are a part of your usual life. It's how well you solve these problems. It is not how much you're shielded. And that I think was very different to what is the childhood upbringing nowadays. I also remember that I wanted to see a major surgery and there was a prostatectomy going on and I was a second year student. So I went and saw the surgery and I was also able to scrub up and wash. And then at the end of the surgery, afterwards, my father told me, see, this is a major surgery. You saw it. And now you should also stay back in the night and do a night duty to look after this patient. Because this is not just coming and looking like a cinema, but you should know what is meant by patient care. So I stayed back and looked after the patient, and they gave this 3-hour chart of what to do, drain, everything. Small things like this actually really goes a long way to show what is meant by privilege, but what is meant by a responsibility also. This was really very good. And we talk of so many things like hard work, of medical ethics, and other things. But to learn at it in a different way is different. But to actually, your parents are the people who can show by example. And I have never seen anybody work as hard as my father and mother. And you might be knowing that once he completed his medical profession, he also had a passion for medical literature, Tamil literature. And so he joined as a PhD candidate when he was 78 years old. The university gave him a special permission to become a PhD candidate, and he completed the PhD at 82. So these are some things that you learn by looking at them. You don't need a special class or some perception tutoring, but parents are somebody who can teach. The same way, my mother is not a business administrator. She only finished school, but I have never seen anybody better in financial acumen or managing people. And she is a backbone of the hospital where she brought up the whole Ganga hospital as a family. She saw everybody together where she could bring. And that gave me a great respect for people who had innate capabilities of management and not just tutored capabilities of management. So there are many different things you learn when you learn from your parents. Everyday life is something that you keep learning. And I am so grateful that we had such good parents telling us and showing us what. And I think that's one of the most important thing every parent must know, that they can have high aims for their children, but a big, big responsibility of making that come true for their children rests on the parents. That's what I really love it.
So in that 8 to 9 minutes, you have shared so much of wisdom. Now, as they tell, wisdom is shared in stories. So in those stories, you have shared the wisdom about parenting, about life being full of problems. And as they say, if we are learning every day, that means God has kept us alive for a reason. So you again have shared the fact that problems are a part of life. And also, you have shared something very key about accountability, that when you were a student, when you observed that prostatectomy surgery, your father made you stay back. That is again a part of being accountable. And I've been fortunate enough to have met him many number of occasions whenever I was there at Ganga hospitals. And he's been a true inspiration for many people. I completely agree with you. Now, coming to the influential people apart from your parents, now you had definitely mentors, you had teachers throughout the journey. It could be school life, it could be college, and later even during post-graduation or later years. So anybody there that you would like to mention and the lessons that they have imparted?
Yeah, of course. Mentors are so important in life, and naturally, your teachers and professors whom you grow up with during your post graduation shape your life so much. So, I would particularly, there are so many people, but I know there is a time limit. So, I would like to personally talk about Professor Shanmusundaram, under whom I actually did my post graduation. And he was a person from whom you can learn a lot of orthopedics, but you could also learn a lot outside orthopedics also. He was so straight in everything that he did that I was so enamored by him. He always used to tell us that it's not so important that what is the latest surgery that you do. That's very important to the surgeon's ego. But he always used to say it's more important to do the safest surgery for the patient. There is so much wisdom in it, especially in these present days when every day one new technique is coming, when new instrument is coming, which makes these surgeries more expensive and little more risky also. And when I finished, I was one of his favorite postgraduates. So when I finished post-graduation and then I went to his home to pay my respects, he told, "You're a bright guy, so you will always be attracted to any newer things. But please know that it is not bad to be a few years behind the cutting edge surgery." He said there are so many surgeries coming up, which after a few years they go away. But in those few years, they have caused a lot of problem to the patients. And so you will be a safe surgeon if you're a few years behind the cutting edge. If you're in the cutting edge, the person who bleeds most will be your patient. This was such a very important thought he put into my mind, that we should always look at safety first rather than anything else. There are also two more persons whom I'd like to say, not in orthopedics, but actually one is a pediatric surgeon, Professor Ravi Kumar from Coimbatore. Lots of people know him. And also a neurologist, Dr. M.B. Pranesh. Actually, I was influenced by both of them so much that I almost became a pediatric surgeon or neurologist, but for my love for orthopedics when I got it in orthopedics. From Professor Ravi Kumar, you always learned what is the value of clinical medicine. And he always said, your best interest or the only interest must be the interest for the patient. I was very deeply touched because when I was in posting with him, one of the patients required one particular medicine and the child was sick, and that was not available in the hospital inventory. So he came to see the patient in the evening because the child was sick, and he said, okay, just 10 minutes. And he went out and he brought the medicine and came and gave it to the patient. So just these small things actually influence you to think there is no limit to which you can go if you want to do the best to your patients. When I finished my training abroad and I came and met Dr. Pranesh and told him that I am going to do that, he told me, okay, Raja, I know you will be establishing a hospital and a unit. Two things I want to tell you. If you're the first to go into the hospital and the last to come out, 90% of the problem is taken out. And this was such a valuable advice that if you're the hardest working person and if you're the first to enter the hospital and the last one to go out. I see in many different units that as people become seniors, they take it as an entitlement to come late and to leave early, and then the problem starts. He also told me that treat all ordinary patients as VIPs and your VIP patients as ordinary patients, and you will never have a problem for your practice. That's the same thing that we follow now. So I think mentors go a long, long way in shaping up of what you can. I think you have to choose your mentor, and that's a shortcut to success.
Again, you highlighted a lot of important things here, sir. One is safety being the paramount when it comes to patients. Trust, the importance of treating every patient like a VIP. And it all brings us back to the fundamental basic principles of why we are doctors. And you highlighted how the mentors have actually shaped your thinking, not only professionally, but also in personal life, in ensuring that these values are probably ingrained into the DNA, I would say, more like epigenetics. But again, for any doctor, the journey is not very smooth. We have our ups and downs. And all of us make difficult decisions, which at that point might feel that we don't have much of options. We are pushed to the wall and we are taking these decisions because there is no other option left. Or sometimes we have so many choices that we have to take a decision which can be hard at that time, but later can give a lot of benefits. So again, looking back to your life, are there any decisions which come up to your mind which were difficult at that time and it turned out to be the crucial decisions that you ever made for success?
Yeah. So I think in one's life, there are many such situations, both in your personal and professional life, where that your crossroads and the decision that you make really matters quite a lot in life. I think the one big decision which we did that immediately comes is when both my brother and I had trained very well abroad, and we had the expertise to bring in new expertise. The question was, where do we settle? And everybody, many of my relatives and even many of our teachers said that Coimbatore is too small a place for you and you should actually settle in Bangalore or in Madras. And there were also a lot of offers from huge hospitals over there. But we had no issues regarding settling in Coimbatore because Coimbatore was our hometown. And the reason we came from abroad was to be with our parents. But I think that was one of the most important decisions that we did, because the choice was whether you are going to be a small cog in a big wheel, where you just move into a place which has already been smoothly running and you become a small part of it, or that's a comfort zone. You start your practice at a higher level immediately, or you go to a place which is yours, where you have ownership and where you are a big cog in a small wheel, or you are creating a wheel itself. And that was a big decision to make. And I'm so happy that we made the right decision to be in Coimbatore and start a new wheel, because that actually gave us the power to do what we wanted. We could keep the medical ethics at the highest standard. We could bring in technology that we really thought was safe for the patient. All the decisions of administration and finance were in our hand, and you could do exactly what you wanted. I'm so grateful that it was one of the right decisions we need to be in Coimbatore. Even yesterday, I asked one of our fellows who was just finishing on why he is not settling, and he said, no, my place is too small for my training. And I just exactly told him the same story, and also told him that if you think that your place is too small, then it means that people like you are going away, and how will that place become bigger if you are not going back to your hometown? So many of the younger surgeons are now having this crossroads. Should I go and settle in a big city, or should I go back to my hometown? And I would strongly advise that they should go back to their hometown and to a place which would embrace them. I mean, they are needed at that place. Whereas when you go to a big place, you need the big place. But whereas patients will come to you in your hometown, you have to go behind patients when you go to a big city. That changes the whole equations of practice in your life. Another big decision I had to do, which really influenced a lot, was when I just started my practice. I had a burning desire to do PhD, and so I enrolled in Madras, and I was in Coimbatore. Fortunately, part-time PhDs were available at that stage, but my guide was very strict that I should spend 3 days in a week over there. So he was kind enough to accept Sunday also as one of those days. And so I spent for 2 years continuously, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Chennai, and the rest of the days here. Lots of people told me that this is not necessary for you and you are actually digging into your practice. This is not the stage you should think of research. What is the use of doing research in India and all that? But I think that was one of the best decisions I did. And that actually shaped the character of our unit. Not to boast, but our unit produces more than 60 to 70 high peer-reviewed publications every year. And last year, for the last 3 years, I think Stanford University has put us as one of the top 1% of people who are publishing in orthopaedics. So it also has changed our whole perspective of how we practice medicine. So I think these are the two things. And younger people, when they are looking at difficult decisions, they should not look at what is a shortcut in the immediate period, or what is putting them in a comfort zone in the immediate period, they should actually look at long-term perspectives. And these sort of decisions, I think, actually are so important that shapes your future in later life.
So again, a lot of questions have come up secondary to this. Can I just ask you what your PhD was on, sir?
So my PhD was on the evolution of deformity in childhood spinal tuberculosis. So this was a spin-off from my thoughts when I was doing my post-graduation in Madras Medical College, because the Madras study of spinal tuberculosis was, Madras Medical College was one of the main centers. And we saw a lot of children who were treated conservatively. They were cured of tuberculosis, but they all had a huge kyphotic deformity, spinal deformity. And I was really surprised how this was there, because some of them had more than 100 degrees deformity. And when I talked to many of the lecturers, they said, no, we didn't really notice this when the child was on treatment. And so there was something called a late presentation of deformity. The child was cured of tuberculosis, but developed a deformity after 6 or 7 years after it was discharged. And that really incited my interest into this. And we did a 15-year perspective. It was a part of the MRC trials. And I went back into the records, and a lot of very important details came out of it, which is very well quoted across in all the textbooks in the world.
And it also brings me to the other question, sir. I was just jotting down here about coming back from the UK. Now, I was there for 9 years with my family, and I can agree that it is actually not a very easy decision when you have to give up things which looks very promising and come back and start from scratch. So I think there was a very good message to youngsters there to pursue something which might be hard at that point, but going forward might give a lot of happiness and fulfillment in life. Now, considering that I was doing your interview today, I did a little bit of my research. And when I was listening to one of your talks, you do mention your very brief encounter with Swami Dayanand Saraswati in an airport in Hyderabad, if I'm not mistaken. And that again was, as you mentioned in that interview, a very crucial moment in your life, because you were taking a very difficult decision to expand the hospital at that point. And going back to what Swamiji had told you and how you expressed that, it just highlights the fact that when you're doing something for a bigger good and not for yourself, universe is with you. Now, do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, lots of things actually, because it basically puts you in the right perspective of life. So we were a hospital of 160 beds, and there was no scope for expansion. And then we wanted to move to another place. My brother and I were thinking of another setup with 150 beds more. And then there was this opportunity of a land, and our architect, Mr. Ramani Shankar, he put up a grand plan of 450 beds. And that actually looked, it just shook us out. And we were very skeptical around that. So when we discussed it in the family, I think my mother made a big decision. She actually told both of us, if you are sure that you can manage 450 patients, then leave all the other things of administration and finance to me. You just look at the profession. And that actually was a defining moment when we both decided, let's go with a big project. But still, a lot of doubts lingered in your mind. And it was a chance and meeting with Dayananda Saraswati Swamigal. I should give the credit to SpiceJet, because they did not tell us that the flight was delayed. And when we reached the airport, there was a delay of 2 hours. And I had a very good discussion with him. And he, when I was expressing all these doubts, he clearly told me, if you think that you are the creator of Ganga Hospital, and Ganga Hospital is there because of you, then there are so many doubts and problems that will come up crop up in your mind. But if you realize that Ganga Hospital was meant to be at this stage, in this place, and offering a lot of treatment to people, and you are a vehicle of it, and you are a part of destiny, and you are not a creator of this hospital, and you put your blame on the spirituality and you draw strength from it, then there should be no problem. So he said, make sure that you understand that you are not the creator of Ganga Hospital, because Ganga Hospital was destined before you and it will last after you, as long as the philosophy of the hospital, as long as the ethos of the hospital is to give good treatment to people, nature will support it. You don't worry. You don't have to be. It was like such a relieving moment for me. And I was telling, no, Swamiji, I was also wondering, because we need so many talented people and everything. He just said, why are you worried? I mean, you just follow the same principles of good medical ethics. People will come to you. A team will form around you when you have a good medical ethics. When you're doing good, you just concentrate on what is to be done and make sure it is good. Everything else will be taken care of. If you lose that principle at any point of time, then you will find that there is a lot of hardships coming around, because nature will withdraw its support to you. I mean, it was such a, I think it was one of the most important things that gave me. It was like you're tired and you had a Horlicks. Somebody gave you a hot Horlicks and you just, I somehow felt immediately after that a lot of weight taken away from my shoulders and in my mind. And in many experiences of life and in the growth of the hospital, we have always found that whenever we thought that there is something, a tremendous problem, we have always found people coming with help unsolicited. And I think that we have to. So when you're embarking on a project or when you're embarking on a big thing, I think what is your inner aim? I think that's very important. So when my brother and I and my parents, we set up the hospital, our only aim was to be the best unit in the country. This was also because both my brother and I did not come back to India because we didn't have good jobs. In fact, the opposite was true. We both were offered the best jobs there. And if I had taken up the job, I would have been one of the youngest consultants in the University of Liverpool. And we couldn't take the job because if we take up the job, we can't return back. And so we had to resign and come back on the offering of the job. We had a determination in my mind, okay, if we are leaving something so big and coming, then the only alternative left for us is to create something much better. And that was the only aim at that time, and that is the only aim even now. And I think these inner intentions are more important. We never looked at it as an economic proposal or it is something else. At every stage, we always thought, what can we do more to make the hospital a better unit, which will be a pride of our country. So I think the inner intentions are very important. And that's what I learned on that particular day. Thanks to SpiceJet.
I'm sure everybody is probably looking around for such opportunities whenever their flights are cancelled, especially now we see a lot of flights getting cancelled or delayed. Now, this actually highlighted a very important concept, sir. When I was listening to the previous interview of yours, it just highlighted how people talk about karma. And in Upanishads, they talk about two types of karma, which is nishkama karma and sakama karma. So this was a best example I could find for nishkama karma, where you're doing something for a bigger good. And when you do something for a bigger good, the universe is always with you. And I think that's again an important message for all the youngsters, that if they think beyond themselves, it could be either for their family, team, hospital, or society. I think the universe will help them kind of do things which they have in mind. So going forward, sir, I don't know whether we can enter this topic, but it's about religion and God. I know that it is something which might be very personal, but are there anything that you would like, or any words regarding this that you would like to highlight?
About religion and God?
Yes, sir, about religion and God. Because again, looking at any religion, whether it is Christianity, Islam, or Hinduism, now whatever we spoke about, if we are doing it for the bigger good, I'm sure every religion speaks about doing it so that the universe or God is with you. So, what are your thoughts about this, about religion and God? Because we do see that there is decreased intensity in the way some people are praying or are getting attached to God. So, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think that as you grow higher, you need a safety factor behind it. And God and religion, whatever you define it as or whatever you perceive it as, is something that you require to give you a safety factor. Yeah, inner mental strength in the times of your doubt or in the times of your hardship, and when it looks like a long tunnel, I think God and religion actually come as anticipated light at the end of the tunnel that will give you some strength. So, one of the most liberated minds in the history is the French revolutionist Voltaire. And I always remember as he said, if there is no God, then it is important for us to invent a God because man needs God. So, I think that's very important. So, we were talking about the various distractions and various opportunities and different options and the difficult decisions making in life that is now in front of everybody. And God and religion is actually one factor which will help you to make the right decisions. So I think it's a guiding force. It's something that will make you think of what to do because you can think nobody is watching you, but when you believe God, then you know somebody is watching you. And there is an inner spirit in you which makes you feel difficult or diffident to take a wrong decision and to be unfair in a circumstance. So just like they said, one of the easiest way to make a decision is you just sit down, close your mind and think, what will my mother think of me when I take this decision? Will she approve of this decision? I think it was Shiv Khera who told that. If you close your eyes at a difficult point of decision and then will my mother approve and feel happy of what the decision I have taken? Then you will take the right decisions. I think God is also at the same level. Religion is also at the same level because it puts a perspective in your mind that this is a long journey. You are in a small part of the journey and you have to take responsibility for the actions that you did today that you will have to face tomorrow. And that puts a lot of onus of responsibility on you. The second important thing for religion and spirituality is that it will help you to keep grounded at any time in your life. Be at the moment of success or be at the moment of big turbulence. It gives you a sense of balance when you're very successful. I think it's very, very important. And it also gives you a lot of support when everything seems to be falling apart. So, whenever you think you get a big success and you think, okay, this is all because of me. It's because of my intelligence. It's because of my capabilities. It's because of my ability. And that's a time when you are getting off balance. It then become a car which is going very fast without a balance and a brake. But if you think, okay, I am really grateful for a providence, a bigger strength that has bestowed the opportunities for this on me, then you're only filled with gratefulness. You're not filled with diffidence or some unnatural feelings in your mind. The same thing on the other side of the coin, there is no life that will not face hardships or challenges at some points of time. And God and the feeling of karma, your spirituality, whatever be your religion, it's one of the safest, what can I say, shock observers or anything in your life that, you also have now a chance to appeal for help. So you always can pray and you feel very good. And this, I think God does not need you, religion does not need you, but we need religion and God. So we need to be actually having it as a safety factor, safety belt whenever we are going.
This has not only been a good lesson for youngsters and other people listening to the podcast, but more so to parents, because parents are nowadays questioned by children as to why should I come to the temple, why should I pray. So I think this is probably a best answer that they can give to young children when they ask this question.
So when I was just talking about my childhood, there are many, many things on which we are very grateful to our parents. But one of the most important thing which we are grateful to our parents, and especially my mother, is to instill the feeling of religion, a sense of spirituality, and the importance of being fair on God and religion. I mean, I think we are ever grateful. This comes in the families. I mean, nobody becomes spiritual or becomes religious by themselves. I mean, they look at others, they look at their elders, they look at what their parents believe. And if the parents can instill a feeling of religion and God fearing and spirituality into the mind, I think this is one of the biggest strengths that they are giving to their children. It's a personal opinion, but I think I have felt this as very important in life.
Thanks for that. That would itself be a discussion that we can have, but I think we'll move ahead with the questions that we have. Now, coming to books, all of us have our own favorite books, books which changed our lives, books which actually made us better, which gave us the right information when we need it. So we call them as quake books, just like an earthquake. They shook us at that point and changed us. So for you, can you just name a few books? I'm sure people listening to it already are on Amazon trying to order that book. So
Yeah. So, as you evolve, you move from fiction to non-fiction books. And when I was in my second year of medical college, one of my friend told you must read Atlas Shrugged of Ayn Rand. So I'm sure many people have already
yeah,
read that. And I have read that book at least 6 times over the last 30 years. And every time I read that, I have a different perception. But one of the things that really it taught me was it really proved that the world moves on the shoulders of few people who are actually moving this world and not by all the people in the world. It actually showed me that there are only few people who can make things happen. And these are the selfless people, passionate people who do everything. And after reading that book, I started having a lot of respect for people who are selfless and making things happen in this world. Selfless in the sense that they are all selfish because they are bringing that passion out of it. Like, for example, Tata Consult TCS or Infosys. It is not that the creators were totally selfless, but it was that passion to create something. And these things excite me quite a lot to learn how there are few humans who made things happen. And that was a very big perception. I started getting attracted and respecting and enjoying these human endeavors and human successes as much as I enjoyed Niagara Falls or big creations of God. So that was that. From that moment of the book I read, achieving and making things happen was very high in my mind. So that was one. To give a very good equanimity of mind, Prophet by Khalil Gibran also was very good. That's another book. Every time you read, you have a different perception depending upon how much mature you are and in what stage you are. But if you ask me one single book that affected us quite a lot, it's a small book called The Mayo Brothers. The Mayo Brothers, it's about the story of William Mayo and Charles Mayo. who who were responsible for the Mayo Hospital. And my brother actually got the book from a old bookstore in Moore Market when we were all medical students. And the similarity between their family and our family was very. And actually, my mother also read the book, and she called both of us and said, "Do you see what a similarity is? There is a father who's a doctor, and there are two brothers who are good surgeons, who are good doctors, and they are in a very, very remote place of US. They were not in New York or Boston or Chicago or San Francisco, but they were in a very small village of Rochester. And look what they could do in this small place. Now, if they both can do it, then why can't you do it?" So after that, that thought was a very powerful thought that was put into our mind. And it's a small book. We have read that book many times, and that really helped us to shape. It was also one of the important reasons why we were not hesitant to settle down in Coimbatore. Because Coimbatore was much better than Rochester, which was only a small village in which the hospital was actually built. And what gives us a lot of pride is we have so many visitors from abroad and from Mayo all over the world. And one of the surgeons who came from Mayo Hospital, actually in our visitors book, he wrote, "Well, I work in Mayo Hospital, and now I am so happy I have visited another Mayo Hospital in India." And so many visitors talk of the Mayo Hospital and the Mayo Hospital brothers resemblance, and that's really something really makes us feel good. But that's a book that guided us quite a lot.
Very interesting, sir. So coming to now the practical tips, as we were highlighting earlier in the podcast, people would be very interested to know, what does Professor Rajasekaran do on a day-to-day life? What is his typical day like? And what are his routines or habits which you prioritize to keep yourself productive and having a fulfilled day at the end of the day?
Yeah. Okay. By normal standards, I can say I lead a busy life. So I start at 6 to 6:30 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which is my operating days. And the surgery will go till about 5:30. I stay in the operating theater till 5:30. And then there is a little bit of administration and work. And there's a lot of people who come with their problems, students with their research work or who need guidance. And then we go for rounds. And typically, I finish my official medical work by about 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And then there is 1 hour of some internal works I always have to do. That's with the running of the hospital or the unit or some research grants or research papers and all that. So typically my day lasts from 6:30 to 8:30. Sometimes less, but most of the times more. And people always ask me what keeps you grounded or what keeps you unwinded or what keeps you recharged during these busy days. So I think these words recharge or unwinded actually comes only when you are out of charge or when you are completely wound up. And I typically don't feel a need of it at the end of the day. In fact, most of the days when after a hard day, especially if you have done some difficult surgeries, some complicated surgeries, or even when you have solved a difficult administrative problem, or you have actually dealt a lot with some research question and you have discussed it with this and it goes on for, I probably, I always think that I have always felt more charged at the end of the day after this than at the beginning of the day. So What makes people think that you need to unwind or recharge at the end of the day is probably that they have not felt excited or happy, or whatever they have been doing the whole day has not made them very happy about it. And over the period of time, I have very much realized that people are confusing a lot with hard work and stress. There is a mix up of both of these, and people mix up this, but it's very important for younger generation to know that hard work and stress are two completely different things. Hard work has given lots of benefits to lots of people because you cannot achieve anything without hard work, but nobody has ever died of hard work. People have died of stress. And then you have to think what makes hard work into a stressful situation. I have thought about a lot about it because a lot of people ask me about it. And I think that one most important thing that makes work stress is poor performance. People come into their work ill prepared, people perform badly, and when the results that come out does not match the expectations or the expected standards, there is a lot of work stress, and people blame that stress on work, whereas what they should be blaming is poor performance. Now, every medical person, you, me, everybody knows that doing 10 extraordinary challenging cases doesn't leave you tired. It actually gives you a lot of endorphins in your mind and you feel excellent when you go home. But if you had one small case where you did not do well, and in the inner part of your heart that you know that you could have avoided it, or you could have done better with some planning, then there is a lot of stress in you because you don't want to accept it and you want to blame it on something else. And then you usually blame it on the patient or you blame it on the work. Hard work is not working 15 hours on something where you are doing very well or where you are passionate about, but stress is something working even 15 minutes on something you are not doing well or where you are not passionate about. So these long days actually don't mean much. The length of the hours or the length of the day doesn't matter much. The length of the day actually matters on what you have been doing. Is it something which you enjoyed very much? And have you performed very well during that period of time? And are you happy about what you have done? I think this actually matters quite a lot. If younger people are not feeling very happy going to work in the morning, if Monday mornings look tiresome, Friday evenings look very joyful, then you must sit and introspect. Am I in the right profession and am I doing the right thing? And should I do something different or something in a different way which will actually make me joyful? Rather than blaming on work, they should have some introspection.
I'm very fortunate to actually work with very senior surgeons, among whom one is Dr. Sanjay Pai. And you know him, I think, quite
Very
well. And he would echo your thoughts word to word. And he comes in with the same excitement as you're talking about, that on a Monday morning, it looks like a Friday evening. So I think that is something that I think as youngsters, people should understand that, as you mentioned rightly, hard work, stress, the work-life balance that people are so obsessed with, they're all to do with the passion that you have for working. So I think that's very important.
This work-life balance is a modern terminology. So when we were young, when we were growing up, the first time I heard about work-life balance and its problems was just about 20 years ago. We never heard about it before because somehow in the Western world, people started doing something which they didn't enjoy and they separated work and life separately. So if you do not think your life is work and work is life, then there is a serious problem for balance.
Now, considering that it is so busy, sir, you start at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning and finish by around 9, 8:39. Where do you get time to learn new things? Or how do you approach in keeping yourself up to date? Are there any specific practice, anything practical that people can use? Because people are going back and, one of the common reasons people have is I don't have time to update myself. So what are the specific practices or routines for self-improvement?
So I tell this even to my residents that you should not artificially separate working and learning. And I have a session with all the newcomers every year. And one of the first and foremost thing I say is for your success, you should know how to integrate work and learning. Because you work all through the year without learning, and then you want study holidays before you go to the exam is something, it's a purely Indian concept. So you, at whatever stage of profession you are, so whenever you're doing something new or there is a case where there is something new to be done, you have to update yourself and learn yourself on a case to case basis and not from time to time basis. Your journal reading or your updating on a case must be a part of your entire day's work. So it is not like I would set 4 hours today to read this. So if there is a case that needs to be done tomorrow and it is a difficult case, I mean, you would spend half an hour today between cases to run through the videos of what other people have said, what has been recently published, and then you update yourself very quickly and then you do it. So this, if you keep both of these separated, then you have a problem because you have to find time then. But if you know the trick of integrating work and learning together, then it's not a problem. This I also call purposeful learning. You see, you need to read from first page to the last page for an exam. That's different. But when you're practicing, you don't need to read something which is not relevant to you on your daily practice. But the cases that you are doing, and each case poses a separate challenge. And that specific part, you should look at what's being updated and learn every day. And that's the best way to learn. So you will do purposeful learning when you're practicing.
Thanks for the tips, sir. Going back to your achievements, I'm sure the list itself, as I was reading, was giving me goosebumps. So, how do you stay grounded, sir, and to maintain that perspective amidst all the achievements, the responsibilities that you have? So, what is the practical tip there that people can take? Now, if somebody has won an award, now a young researcher goes to one of these events, gets a first prize, it's all over the place because they're happy, and I'm sure all the friends and family are happy. But when they come back, how do they maintain the perspective that, yes, I'm back to my work. I need to serve my patients. I need to kind of look after them.
Yeah. So a few things. I'm happy you asked this question actually because how to manage your success is also very important as how you manage your failures. And more people are getting degrounded, I can say, from success rather than by failure in modern times. First and foremost is not to take the entire credit on your head. If you take the entire credit of your success, then you can feel slightly intoxicated because that's an overdose of credit. So there is hardly anything that you can do in life where you cannot give the due credit to somebody else. So I was recently giving a graduation day address and I said the first and foremost thing that you should do at the time of your graduation is just go back to your room, close your eyes, and think of all the people who made this day possible. It is not just you writing the final year exam alone. You should not think I did medicine, surgery, and obstetric gynecology well. But also think for a moment who put you in the medical college, who paid your fees, who was your inspiration, that school teacher who would encourage, your parents who worked a little hard. And if you put all these in the proper perspective, and this is the same even when you're a doctor. I mean, if you do a really good surgery, Without a good anesthetist, I mean, it's not possible. I mean, a good anesthetist is necessary to extend your surgical capabilities, a good theater staff, your team members. I mean, there is always a lot of scope for giving credit of all your success to others. And when you do that, you will know that maybe you were an important part, but only a part of the entire success. So I think that keeps you grounded. The second thing I think for youngsters is to not be sucked into this phenomenon of instant gratification. I mean, there is nothing like every small thing that you do in life must have an immediate applause, thumbs up, claps on the WhatsApp and in the Instagram. And then you get terribly distracted. So if your aim is to count Himalayas, conquer Himalayas, then the celebration and gratification must come only when you have climbed Himalayas. It is not at every stage of your career. Today I reached base camp, and then there is a big celebration. I got to step one, then there is a big celebration, gratification. Then that makes you feel so good about the achievement which is lesser than what you aimed for initially, and the achievement which is lesser than what you are capable of. So it should be very clear in your mind of something very high, and celebrations and gratifications will come only at the end of your achievement. And good people always actually push the bar higher up as they go. They keep pushing the bar. So there is always something for them to look up to and not something they feel that I have achieved. So this is extremely important. I think the third thing that is very important is whom you are with. If you are only with people who are lesser than you, then there is a lot of problem for you. So there are two important quotes, I think sayings which the younger people will know. One is, you are the sum average of the 5 people with whom you are most of the time with. So many people ask me, what is the biggest advantage that you have had of playing a leadership role in so many international organizations? There are many things. You get exposed to many things which you cannot do. But one of the most important things is you come into contact and you rub shoulders and you start working with people who are bigger than you. And that actually makes you feel that you are not the best guy around in the world and puts you in the proper perspective. As you rise up in the arena, you come into contact with great achievers and people who are so humble after having achieved much more than you, and people who are so grounded that it almost looks blasphemy if you're making any big ado about your achievements. The second important thing that people should know is that if you are in a room where you're the best person, then you're in the wrong room. So, you have to move into a room where there are better persons than you, where you feel inspired to become a better person. So if you look at all these, then you will be very well grounded. I have a very good friend, Mr. Krishnan of Krishna Sweets. Once we gave him a very international award, and he also have a big award. And then he said, if you have an award, that should be in your mind only till that evening. The next day must be an ordinary, simple working day. The award celebrations should not last longer than that evening. You should return back to normalcy, complete normalcy the next day. So, I think these are a few points which will help you not to take the credit to yourself, not to feel that you are the person who created the success, to share the credit with others, and to look at people who have achieved more than you, and not to have instant gratifications at every stage of the journey. I think then you have no problems of being grounded.
Sir, you spoke about very important concepts there: humility, equanimity, not celebrating at every point. But you are a human being, sir. I'm sure you would have felt elated with at least that one award that you got out of those so many awards. Can you just tell me one award that actually made you feel really elated of all the awards that you received? One where you immediately shared with family, immediately came back with that kind of joy.
Can I have the luxury of sharing two rather
Yes,
than
sir.
one? Because when
Yes,
you
sir.
said
Please.
one, two came into my mind.
Now you're really proving to be a human being and not a superhuman.
Yeah, yeah. So one is, in the spine research, the Easels Award, the Easels Award for the world's best spine research is a very prestigious one. The Easels organization is a group of researchers, not just of surgeons, but of muscle physiologists, biomechanics, radiologists, pathologists, microbiologists, everybody who is interested in, and they have a cap of 200 membership. So there can be only 200 members. And there is a very strict criteria of entering in and to be into it also. So you can say the elite of spine surgery research people are there from all walks of the scientific field. And to be an awardee of the ESILS award is something which I was always thinking at least once in your lifetime you must get this award. And I am proud to say that we have got 5 times now, but the first time was unexpected. So we got it in 2004, and when I just opened my email one day, I was just going through it, and then suddenly it said, "Congratulations on your ESILS award." It was just a moment of great elation, and it was just something like a dream come true. That was good. And that actually made us also feel that this is possible. And then on that day, I kept my award. Okay, we have got once, then we should get it 5 times. And now we have got it. When we got the fifth, I said, okay, we should aim for 10 times. So that is good. The second one was getting the Hunterian professorship position was a true honor. I mean, because this is given to very few people with good research. And this was given for the research of my PhD findings of natural history of childhood spinal tuberculosis on how biomechanics actually alters spine deformity and how an existing spine deformity alters the biomechanics of the spine and how it modulates growth. So that was like an international acceptance of your concepts. And there are only very few people who have been Hunterian professors in our country. So in the last 75 years, so that was great.
In fact, for people who are not doctors listening to this podcast, if you have celebrated, say, A.R. Rahman getting a Grammy Award, I would say it's equivalent that in the surgical specialty of orthopedics, getting these awards are equivalent to getting an Oscar or a Grammy. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we say the Grand Slam in spine surgery, just like you have Wimbledon, Forest Hills, Australian Open, and American Open. So we have the Easels Award. We have the North American Spine Association Spine Surgery Award. Then you have the Eurospine Award. And then you have the Asia Pacific Spine Award. I am so glad to mention that we have received all this many.
There's a lot of hard work of you and your team which has gone into this. So
Yeah, a
congratulations once
whole
again,
team.
sir.
Yeah, whole team which is working on it.
Congratulations once again. We did discuss a little bit about challenges earlier. You just touched upon the aspect of challenges that young people are facing today, sir. Now, what advice will you give them if it's a one-piece advice for somebody starting their career? They finished their post-graduation. It could be MS in orthopedics, MD in anesthesia, or obs in gynecology. What one-piece advice will you give them?
Yeah, I think for the younger mind, I think they should not look too early into success and be patient for it. And just be passionate about what you are doing. And then success will eventually be yours. I mean, there is no doubt about it if you do something with a lot of passion. So, again, it comes to the central theme of why you are a doctor and what interests you in being a doctor. So, if you are a doctor who has taken up medicine to look at on the economics of it, I'm 100% sure that you will go only to a certain level, that not beyond that. But if you want a higher level of success, you should be passionate about what you're doing and you continue doing it. And when you do it with passion, there is no way that you will not be successful. So, one of the famous quotes, which actually I should say shook me a lot and made me think about it, is that somebody saying that the best musicians being asked, would you still play music if nobody is listening to you? And Miles said, of course, I would play music because it is in my head. And I have to play music for myself. I do it every time. Other people also happen to listen to it. When I read that, this was something I was always equating surgery. I used to ask myself, would you still do all these surgeries if there is nobody paying for it? And I had no doubts of clear idea in my mind. Of course, this is what excites me. I would still do it, whether the patient is able to pay for it or not. That is why that is actually the genesis of many of the social service project and charity projects which we are doing. And when we wrote the vision and mission statement also, we made that while the vision statement said that we should be a unit which is the pride of the country, the mission statement said that this capabilities and the expertise of the unit should be available to every citizen of the country. So don't look at the success quota or the economic equivalent of being a successful doctor when you are beginning your profession. And in all the important judgments you take in your life, leave the economics and money part of it, and that will help you to come to the right decisions. Right decisions always make you successful, and when you are successful, there is no death for economic abundance. But if you take the other route, that you take all your decisions based on economics, then many times you make wrong decisions, and wrong decisions snatch away success from your life. So you just be passionate and you do something extraordinarily well, then you will be the best person for that, and that will make you very, very successful. And this pathway to success will solve many, many problems in your life or dilemmas in your professional career.
So we spoke about the professional career, so the challenges that people are facing and what solutions they can have. But what about personal life? Because we do see nowadays people delaying getting married because they want to finish their fellowships, they want to be well settled, and by the time they're done, they'll be probably in early 30s. Is that something that you approve of, or what are your thoughts about this thing, and also about getting married and not having kids? Now, I know it's a very controversial topic, and many of the youngsters might not like me for having raised this issue, but what are your thoughts about this?
So I think we both are going to be very unpopular discussing a very, very personal question, because marriage and children are very, very highly personalized. Throughout the world, the incidence of committed marriages are coming down, and people wanting to have children is also coming down, and that's a big challenge to many of the Western societies. But actually, in India, most of our religions are promoting a life where shared by a man and woman, and with common aims, common goals, and common achievements and common happiness. So I am all for a marriage in early life, because I think a twin-powered aeroplane, a twin-engined aeroplane, at the time when you are going up in life, is much better than having a one-engine aircraft. Time to have a person next to you and share your life is not after you become affluent. It is in the process of becoming affluent. So when I ask many young people, why are you delaying marriage? They'll say, no, sir, I have to become more settled. So I'll always say when you're very settled, you're also more rigid. There is nobody else, no place in the life, in your life for somebody else when you're well settled and very rigid. Because you think, I am well settled and everything looks like an intrusion into your life. You're so much got used to being alone. Your private life and your private entitlement becomes so important for you that sharing becomes a burden. And that sometimes looks like even one extra person in your life can look like too much crowd. It's a big burden, and then you can never have a very successful marriage. I think the right time to marriage is to have a formative times when you're having everything going for you. You're struggling for everything. And then you share your struggles, you share your ambitions, you share your difficulties. Then when you achieve things together, everything looks very sweet. And then your commitment towards each other becomes more. So I am all for an early marriage. And I think one of the best things in marriage is not only your life partner, but actually the children. And people who are looking only at the problems of having children, I feel sorry for them because they don't know the loveliness of having children, of going through, seeing life around you evolve into an adult, and that can give you so much of happiness. So, a lot of people ask me what I do in my free time and what makes me really happy. I mean, I just go back to the family and I spend so much time with the children. When I had children who are now adults and now grandchildren, something that can really, really make you very happy and give you a very strong perspective of. So, you should have, if you're planning to marry, I mean, to get married is a personal choice. But if you're getting married, I would strongly suggest that you get married early rather than.
Yeah. Even incidentally, I got married early, sir. I was 25 when I got married, and the analogy that you gave of a twin power engine, she was a more powerful engine actually, so which made me push myself. So that is the analogy. And of course, definitely about children, what you said was very true. The hug at the end of the day, the 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 kind of feeling that you get, I think it's enough as a de-stressor. And again,
It also gives you more purpose in your life. I mean, as a continuity of life, children give you a continuity of life. And I have seen people, uh, maybe I should not tell this, but I have seen people who don't have children sometimes get distracted at the later years from their profession because they think that what do I do this for and for whom? It's a big problem.
and I think another thing is I had given a talk earlier last year, in fact, in the Ganga Anesthesia Refresher course about what do we owe the future. And looking at the fertility rates, as you mentioned, with the Western countries, India will probably reach that rate by 2070 or 2060. And I think that is something that we have to be very careful about, because if we don't think about having children, I don't think we'll have enough people to support us when we age. So that is another thing which should make people think about it. And I know it's a very
So,
sensitive topic, but
exactly. So when people are, if you don't have children, then you're forced into getting your affection. Everybody needs some feedback of affection and love. And then you get it from your pets. And then you have to have alternate solutions for getting this. And also, one of the things that I tell all my registrars is that you should not have a single child. I know this is also very controversial, but I always tell them the best present, the best thing that you can ever give your son or daughter is another brother or sister. So, as life is becoming more artificial, nuclear, we are driven by time and space and lack of human contact. I think the best present that we can give to our child is a brother or sister and not a computer or a Lisa or somebody with whom they have no mental contact. A true brother or sister will be a great power in all their lives.
I'm sure that comes from the heart, especially working with your brother, building up an institution which is now world famous and has helped many lives, thousands and thousands of lives. Sir, it's been a 1 hour, 20-minute wonderful discussion with you. I would like to end the discussion with a quote of your choice. Just one quote of your choice, which you think about more or less on an everyday basis.
So, if you're asking for a quote, this is something that I quote in all our activity books. It's the quote of Sri Abdul Kalam sir, whom we greatly respect, that when he said, "Small aim is a crime." I think this is extremely important because, as it is well written, the biggest tragedy in life is not having a very high aim and not able to achieve fully. But the biggest tragedy is to have a very small aim and achieve it. Because you are putting a ceiling to all your aspirations, to your capabilities of how high you can go, depending upon what aim you have made. You make a small aim and then you have put a very tight ceiling on top of your head, on above which you cannot rise. I think this small aim is a crime I quote very often and write in all our activity books. I think it's a famous quote. And I also think that Kalam sir was so good, he also gave another quote that to achieve these dreams, is a dream is not something what you dream in the night, but when you are asleep, dreams are something that burns in your stomach that it does not allow you to sleep. So you think, these two are something that is really, really, really good, and the young surgeons or young people should know both of these. They should not be distracted to have a very small aim in life, and then they have automatically put a governor on their accelerator in their life. And dreaming is not useful in any way unless you also put the hard work and you sweat day and night towards it. So those are two of my very favorite quotes.
Thank you very much, sir. The last 1 hour, 20 minutes has been an inspiration overload, I would say. Every minute that you have spoken, everything that you have spoken has been so valuable. And I thank you for taking time off from your very busy schedule. I know how busy you are, and spending 1 hour and 20 minutes with us. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Murali. I really enjoyed it very much. And I really congratulate you for starting this series on lives well lived. And I consider it as an honor that you thought me fit to be talking about this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for today's episode of Luminary Lounge. We hope you are walking away with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration to fuel your own journey. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends and family, and leave us a review as to how we can improve it. Stay tuned for more wisdom from remarkable individuals who have mastered the art of living fully. I again mentioned fully. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries in your own life, embrace small habits which can change, and crafting your own extraordinary story. As Professor was mentioning here, let the dream burn inside your stomach. Let it not make you sleep until you reach. So, thanks for listening and watching if you have been watching it on YouTube and Spotify. And remember that every day is a chance to become the best version of yourself. You needn't be somebody as a neighbor or your friend, but the best version of yourself. And we will see you next month with another extraordinary person. And let us hear from them about what wisdom and insights they can share. So see you soon at Luminary Lounge next month. Thank you.